start the webinar? Russell's
Do we have Russell?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Wow, loud and clear.
Nice. Amazing.
Where is he? It's like a voice.
Okay, good evening, everybody. I will call this meeting to order for February 13th, 2025, the Ashland School Board. And we will start, shall I read the land acknowledgement tonight? Or actually, do we have a student representative who would like to read it, if you guys are prepared?
I guess I'll do it. We acknowledge the sacred land that we live on and learn on today belongs to the Takelma, Shasta, Modoc, Klamath, and Umpqua peoples. We honor and acknowledge the traditional owners of the land we now call the United States. We recognize the Native American peoples' continuing connection to land, place, waters, and community. We pay our respects to their cultures, country, and elders, past, present, and emerging.
Thank you. Okay, so next we have the adoption of the agenda, and I have one item to add. If we can add to the very end as would be item 13C, response to KL complaint.
I move to approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
All in favor? Okay, agenda is approved as amended. Next, I have the consent agenda. We have the approval of minutes, personnel report, enrollment report, AEA, ASD, MOA, assistant AHS golf coach, and that's it. So I will take a motion to approve the consent agenda unless anybody would like to pull something.
I just want to make a comment. It was nice to see our enrollment a little bit steady right now, so yay for that. But otherwise, I move that we approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, approved. Okay, so next we have school presentation, and tonight we have Ashland High School. And I see Ben and Francisco ready to come and present. Are we having some technical difficulties?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was wondering what was going on too.
Got it. All right. Thank you, everybody. It's my pleasure to be here tonight on behalf of Ashland High School. In case you hadn't heard, we are the home of the Grizzlies, as you can see. So I wanted to take the opportunity this evening just to highlight a few of the initiatives that we have going on this year. Most recently at our last staff meeting, which is kind of right on the cusp of launching semester 2, which we're in now. As a staff, we made a commitment to really rededicate ourselves to Universal Design for Learning, UDL. And for us, this is just a reflection of our staff's values. We really want to make sure that we're reaching all of our students, that we're designing lessons and creating learning environments that are removing barriers to learning for students, making sure everything's accessible, really thinking about the different ways that we're allowing students to represent their learning. And I think it's in line with our district values around inclusion. And I was really encouraged by the amount of participation from our staff. We had several staff leaders or staff members leading the presentation, and it's work that we're going to continue and revisit throughout the year and make sure that we're really systematizing a lot of the work that we've done around equity as a district over the past few years in ways that are visible and are going to come through in the learning environment. So that's sort of a rededication and something that's going to continue on for some time to come. As you all know, we went into this year with a no cell phone policy, and I think we have learned a whole lot from that. It's not been entirely smooth, but it's definitely been a big step in the right direction. And so it was at the end of last school year that we decided as a staff that we would go into this school year making this a priority, and we were committing to each other that we were going to really kind of hold the line on no cell phones, because there's just so much research out, which I know you all know quite well by this point, that cell phones have really often negative outcomes for the adolescent brain. They're distracting in the learning environment. And so what we've done is said they're just not welcome in the classroom. And I think we've learned that there are certain learning environments on campus where it's much easier to enforce than others, just because of the physical layout or the type of class that it is. And so it's a policy that we're going to continue to refine and improve. But we've definitely established a culture on campus this year that it's just not something that we're going to allow into the learning environment. And it's had a lot of beneficial outcomes for students. Teachers are reporting that students are overall more engaged in in-person conversation. And really, it's just, we want students to be able to engage fully with one another without the barrier of the screen in between them. And so we'll be looking into ways to improve and tighten up the policy as we go forward in future years. And it's also in line with UDL as well, because eliminating distractions. I also wanted to highlight that this is the first year that we've had what we call the Future Focus pathway. And this is the first time as a school we've had over a 4-year sequence, a series of classes that are going to allow students to kind of continuously in a purposeful way be exposed to college and career readiness standards, social emotional learning standards, as well as visiting each year the personal education plan, which is a requirement of the state. And so what we did is we took some existing classes like Grizz Academy, Health 1, and College and Career Readiness, and then we introduced a new course this year, which we're calling Adulting 101. Although we've had some feedback from students that it's not a super popular name, and so next year it's going to be Future Foundations. We do listen. And basically, this is going to allow us to also meet the requirements of the new graduation requirements for the class of 2027 around college career readiness, which we've already had in place for many years, but also financial literacy. And those standards are going to be housed in current Adulting 101, next year Future Foundations. And so, yeah, we're kind of piloting Adulting 101 this year with a number of juniors, and next year it becomes a requirement for next year's juniors because they are the class of 2027. So it's been positive this year. Each course is a semester course, but it really allows our counselors and our staff and students to have this more consistent exposure to CCR and social emotional learning. And I really want to highlight the good work of our leadership students. And as a campus, we've really invested a lot in trying to improve our student culture on campus. And so a big, probably the most visible kind of feature that we've had are just amazing pep rallies this year. And so our leadership class has done a phenomenal job designing those. They've been really interactive, high energy, lots of games, and they've been the best pep rallies I've seen as a principal. And I'm hearing from staff members that have been here many years that these are the best that they can remember. So maybe next time we have one, I'll throw out an invite if any of you want to come. They're a lot of fun. And as you can see, sometimes we dress up, we play games, we get silly. And they've also incorporated a lot of games throughout the school year, events like during finals week, there was a pancake breakfast, a donut giveaway. And I've heard rumors, I don't know if this is true or not, of an upcoming staff-student basketball. Maybe they're just rumors, but I heard about it and I got excited. I might even play, so we'll see. So a lot of this is being reflected too in real data. So we put out a survey as part of our accreditation process this year, which covered many different things, but we found consistently across 3 stakeholder groups, staff, students, and families, that they were rating us highest in Ashland High School being a safe, welcoming, inclusive environment. So that's really encouraging, and I feel like this work is paying off. We're going to continue to invest in that. And so the last part of the presentation kind of ties into the cultural aspect, but this is the first year that Francisco has been our athletic director, and I wanted to set aside some time for him to be able to share with you kind of the full breadth of our athletic programming and the positive impact that has on our students.
Thank you. So one thing that is really important, and I would like to start with that, is all those things that Principal Bell has been highlighting and emphasizing is what we do in the athletic programs too. We really understand that our athletics programs is an extension of the education activity, and it's an important part of our culture, of our community, of our identity. So one of the first things that we did this year is we did a poster which has like one athlete from each one of the sports with their implements that they use in their sport. So we actually can have that all year round to celebrate our students and make sure that it's part of our community at large too, because we have been actually passing these posters along for businesses, etc., etc. Currently, Ashland High School Athletics, we compete during 3 seasons, fall, winter, and sport, fall and winter and spring, that's a typo. We have 19 OSAA programs, 7 club sports, and 29 teams. That actually produce about 275 game dates. And every game date, they can be anything from 1 to 5 different games. So I think confidently we can have students participating in about 1,000 games a year, which is a great opportunity for them to increase their performance, their grit, their resilience, and create community with their teammates and their coaches. Currently, for fall and winter, we have 352 students participating in fall and winter sports, so probably with a spring that will put us close to 400, 450, which is about half of the school participate in one sport. We do this because it has been researched that a student grow, there is growth for students through participation in athletics. Sports are good for kids to stay in school, come to school, and perform better. Some basic data, students athlete regular attendee rate is 10% more than non-athletes. So our students come to class regularly more. The increased GPA, we don't have the time to put the data there, is 64% of our students have a 3.3 GPA or better. 80% of our athletes have a 3.3 GPA or better. And lastly, I would say all seniors that participate in athletics graduate. So our graduation rate for athletes is 100%. If they're participating in athletics during their senior year, they graduate. So supporting athletics activities is supporting student growth, is supporting a student being in class, and is supporting students graduating from high school. And more importantly, we try to support our socio-emotional learning through our athletic programs. This is in the news, so give us some community presence too, and I would like to try to identify the word phone. At some point during this basketball segment, they're going to say phone. So please pay attention to that part, not just about the basketball.
Is this going to have volume?
I hope.
Yeah, I'm going to play a video.
What I want to see?
Okay, I'm so excited.
Hi, I'm regional commercial actor Neil Patrick Harris. I love Rise Mushroom Coffee, and not just because I look good drinking it.
Science, technology, engineering, and math are part of everything we do. At Project Lead the Way, we...
Yes.
Here we go.
No? You have to let it run, I guess.
You have the unpaid version, huh?
There's no way to skip this?
No.
Well, I've skipped 3 times.
I love Rise Mushroom Coffee, and not just because I look good drinking it.
Hello there.
The Ashland School District doesn't
All-day
endorse this
energy I
message.
get is good too, and it's easy on the stomach. But mostly, it's because I look good drinking it.
We're almost to Friday, which means more high school basketball. I'm excited. You should be too. Our game of the week, Ashland on the road at Thurston. That's this Ashland group. They are fun, and you can tell that they gel just by the way that they carry themselves on the court. They're going to have a tough matchup against one of the best teams in the state in their level at Thurston. For Ashland, though, they tell me it's just another game, and they're preparing the same way, getting ready to be locked in on game night, no matter who the opponent is.
We're just trying to look at this game like any other game. We don't want to be too tight going into it and like in our heads, but we also don't want to be too loose and like showing that we're not focused.
You know, we got to believe that we can be anybody, anywhere, and that's what we got to do to make playoffs.
One thing Coach Ani does to help the boys lock in, they don't get their phones on the bus. All they've got is each other, which has helped that chemistry develop so far this season.
So building community through sports. And finally, and I think it's really important, we are trying to have more presence with the community. I think we are the only high school in our town, and we should be celebrating our students, and we're celebrating our athletes. So we have been trying to have more presence in our Facebook, have an active website, and try to create those connections with different partners. One thing that you can see in the corner up there is a guide to sport nutrition. So we have taken upon ourselves to educate the community too in how we can support our athletes in their well-being, their nutrition. They only speak about nutrition, which they spoke to about sleeping habits. You know, there's some students believe that going to sleep at 2 and wake up at 11 is a good habit. So we actually had the time to talk about what is like the good habit, particularly to perform. And this actually was an event that was open to the whole community, not just the athletes. So we have been trying to make an effort to put and celebrate our students with our towns. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I ask a couple questions about one about the cell phone
Please
policy?
do.
Just as far as how it's actually being enacted, I know we had a discussion earlier about the fact that we have an open campus and whether students are getting their phones during the lunch periods or when they have out periods. Was that ever, where is that policy at this point?
Yeah, that's the part where we're really going to have to talk more and figure out what is possible for us, because I think we've got a couple. Our physical layout, the way we're scheduled, those are real challenges for us because we are open campus. We have students leaving during lunch. If we had a hypothetical device, because we don't have one right now, that could capture the student cell phone like during the school day, it's hard to think about how to manage that in a way where we're releasing it to them to be able to leave during lunch times when they're off campus so that they can communicate if there's an accident or something like that. We want them to be able to do that for safety. And then being able to also think about that during their out periods, which can happen at different times. So there's cost that we have to think about that in terms of a device. There's lots of different ones out there. And then as there are new kind of, whether it's a pouch or individual lockers, I also keep reading about ways that different students across the country are finding ways to defeat those. We are definitely not the only high school with this policy. And so I think right now we're all kind of in a state of learning about how to implement this policy to fidelity. And so that's why I say this year we've taken a really big step, but we definitely have more work and thinking to do about that.
So at this point, the students are sort of voluntarily relinquishing their phones just for individual class times, correct? Not
That's
like
right.
for the
Yeah, it's
full
got to
day.
be off and away, and they're encouraged and directed. Most classes have they're kind of like a calculator sleeve where there's the individual pockets. They're turning the cell phones in there. If they're not doing that, we're assuming that they don't have a cell phone, but it's kind of an honor system. But we expect that the cell phone is not coming out during class time.
Okay, thank you. And then one other question about the sequence of the 4 classes. So the new one, which I will call, what was the next one? Future Foundations.
Sure.
Is that taking the place of something, or is that an additional class that students are now taking? Is that a one semester or full?
It's counting as a general elective. It is a semester class.
Okay. And most of those are one semester, right?
They're all
Except
one
for-
semester classes.
Even
yeah.
Grizz Academy is just one.
We've
one
changed
semester.
it this year. This is the first year. It's a semester, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
I had actually more of a comment. I was just curious, and I'm hoping maybe this could happen in the future. Ashland High School has very robust extracurricular activities, which I know enhance attendance, build community, and also encourage graduation or facilitate graduation. So I'm hoping we can hear from you about extracurricular activities, because I know it's very robust at Ashland High School too.
I would say that's the plan. So I would like to bring the wonderful things that are happening in band, orchestra, theater, speech and debate, DECA, robotics, because they're not only participating in intramural activities, like they're going actually around the state and they're collecting accolades and they're actually doing a great job. So the idea is to bring in and highlight them independently.
Okay, great. Jackie and Steve Mitzel, I cannot get on the internet here. I'm trying over and over again. It's telling me to run diagnostics. I keep running them, and I can't get on it. So I don't know if you have advice about how to do that. I've never had this problem before. Yeah, it always works. I mean, I've never had a problem before. Anyway, maybe I will
So-
be bugging
If,
Dan to share.
Yeah, if I may approach the bench.
Please, come forward.
They put this fence over here, you know? I just brought like a couple of the programs and some
Yes.
the posters for
Great.
the board
Thank
and
you.
adjacent to the board to one after.
Yeah, I want one of those.
I ran the diagnostics twice. Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Sure.
Wow, fancy.
Can I ask a quick
So
question about the
who
presentation?
creates these? Who creates them? Nice.
My question was the comment about, or the statement about having every participating senior graduate. That's really fantastic. And I was curious over like what span of time we've had that track record. And then if you have the data, like how does that play out just over their high school career and participation in sports and extracurriculars and graduation rate?
Francisco's left the room.
Oh,
I mean, Sarah and Annie just gave me 7 phone calls for the presentation. Okay. I have an issue in the gym, so I want to need to go after. So, yeah, sorry.
All right, he's back now. Would you repeat the question?
Oh, sure. Thanks. I can't see what's going on. Francisco, my question was, that's a really wonderful statement that we've had every participating senior graduate. And I was just curious over how long of a time span have we had that track record, and how does that play out just over their full high school career and participation in extracurriculars and improvement in graduation rate, if you have that data?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I don't have the data in front of me to go specific about this many students as 9th graders. But what I can say is like the academic eligibility policies from OSAA make that if you want to participate in athletics, and probably we are thinking about saying that to activities, you have to take care of your schooling first. We have myself, we have academic coach that actually run reports quite regularly. So we work with the students, not with the idea that if you're not performing in school, you cannot participate in athletics. It's with the idea like we're gonna help you to take care of your schooling so you can participate in athletics as a possibility. So that's obviously a big carrot, so to speak, or positive reinforcement for the students. So I think that is the positive effect that it has currently in our policies. And we could, I mean, if the board has interest, we can actually run probably like historical report to see how many of the students are like from their 9th grade years to their 12th grade year, like they stay in the program, etc., etc. But I will say like the academic eligibility policies support the students' performance overall.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions? All right, thank you. Thank you. Very good. Okay, so we will move on. Next, we have our AHS student report.
Hello, everybody. It's me again. Ella couldn't make it today, so I'll be giving this little presentation. Over the past time since we last met for a board meeting, there's 4 main tent poles of activities that have happened at AHS to share. Number 1, we had finals week, you know, that little thing, and that was a great success. Our leadership class put on food-related and game-related activities every day in the morning to encourage students to come to school and study with friends or meet with teachers to ask questions before our finals, so they actually, you know, can get help if they need to, as well as get some good food. Secondly, we had on the last day of finals our winter sports rally, which Francisco could talk about more if he was here, but we showcased all of our winter sports athletes, our wonderful athletes, in a whole school assembly where they got to be silly and fun and put on dances and skits in front of everybody to showcase their teamwork and how it applies not just to a sport, but to the camaraderie of the activity itself. Thirdly, we had our winter formal at the Armory put on by a club at Ashland High School, actually, which is the only dance throughout the year that's not put on by leadership. So that's an accomplishment for a club. And that was a great success. The theme was Lost in Space. So better than sewer, somewhere in between what we've had before, but it was great fun. Everybody enjoyed it. And lastly, this week is Counselor Appreciation Week. It got moved because of our little snow vacation. And so we're just appreciating all our counselors. We're putting up posters and encouraging students to stop by and thank their counselors. So.
All right, thank you. Okay, next we have OSCA report. You get to go first tonight.
Oh, I'm going to steal some thunder here. All right. Now I've turned the mic on this time. Where is it? So just today they had me make a table at the middle school about all the clubs, when they met, where they met, who was the advisor, what their interest was. And when I found out there were 5 student unions, one of those is advised by a classified employee. We have 12 year-long clubs. One of those is advised by a classified employee. And there are 5 academic competitions that occur at different times of the year. 3 of those are coached by a classified employee. So we have made this calendar of when things happen. It was a very busy Thursdays and Wednesdays over there. And I may have missed some, I'm not sure. Let's see what else I had here. Find my page. As you might have noticed, we were closed last week for snow. But, you know, even though close, we had a couple of employees, the on-call maintenance people, Todd and Nate. They were coming in, going through all the buildings, all through the inside, looking for leaks, looking for damage, making sure the building was safe and okay, even though no one else was there. And then Thursday, the maintenance and custodial people came in to start shoveling out the snow. I understood that they had to stop and go because they realized behind them, it was still snowing and filling in what they had done, which you realize they're out there snowing in the snow itself and not really stopping and kept on going. But they all came back on a Saturday. So the crew came in on Saturday, so it'll be ready to go on Monday, and that included David Schilting, Donnie Albert, Jeremy Aycock from Walker, Joni Rogers from Hellman, Ashley Rogers from AMS, along with Steve Mitzel and Robbie Moles, a few building principals. I heard also a spouse and a child. And I'm including those because they were helping out. But also the fact that there were 9 employees from Talent and Central Point that came down on a Saturday and helped clear our campuses. And that was all I had for today.
And no roofs collapsed.
No. Todd makes sure of that. Todd and Nate kept an eye on things.
A+.
In fact, even this last week, I've seen more, they come back and it's clear some more and clear some more. We had a large gym, actually had snow and ice up there, but it was a sloped roof, slowly melting off. And so we had one of the sidewalks blocked where the kids go to the bus. Tape on one side, tape on the other. And every so often, there's the counselors or the EAs or other people would be out there to make sure, to redirect the kids off around the long way, including the building principal, go around the long way. No, nice. I mean, our principal was trying to take the shortcut through. We wouldn't let him. Yeah, I forgot. He goes around. But, thank you.
Thank you, James. Okay, and now we go on to AAA report. Alan Presky.
There we go. Before I start, I just have to point out, as the parent of the kid who came up with the sewer theme, it was epic. It was a legendary moment. All right. Union meeting was pretty calm. The only source of animation was the continual speculation about which furlough days are going to get clawed back. So that's that. We'll just leave that out there for now. All right. Ashland Connect said, we are busy with 6 new students recently and many more inquiries. We are looking forward to planning with the district on the vision and the mission of the program and what our future holds. Several ideas have been presented, and we are eager to continue the work. AMS says Ashland Middle School is keeping things warm by keeping the clubs rolling through this icy season. Pentagames is a one-day math competition for 7th and 8th graders. Ashland's team competes locally against most of the other middle schools in the valley. The AMS Clay Club, Black Student Union, Queer Straight Alliance, Native American Student Union, the Kiwanis-sponsored Builders Club, AMS Alternative Students Club, and other clubs are hard at work on various fundraisers and group activities while dividing their time between orchestra rehearsals, basketball, and wrestling practices. Students have been eager to get back into the groove after what has been deemed the second winter break, and staying safe and respectful amongst the temptation of snow and ice around every corner of the campus. The preseason runners can even be seen running up and down flights of stairs after school to stay in shape while the outdoor track is iced over. We look forward to a productive and memorable new lunar year of the snake. No report from Bellevue. Hellman, a little long-winded, but here we go. We are busy at Hellman. We had our annual Lunar New Year parade where we walked around the block with noisemakers, signs, and symbols of the Chinese New Year. Neighbors came out to see us, drivers honk as they pass by, and we all ring in the new year as a school. We are nearing OBOB battle time. We have 13 teams comprised of 59 students who have been reading and working hard to prepare. Our after-school Lego club kicks off this month. We have 55 students signed up to come to the cafeteria and build Legos together. It's a sight to see. A cafeteria bustling with students combing through tub after tub of Legos to build intricate creations to be displayed in the library. Cats and Lego people are always coveted Legos. I believe that's for you people in the community who might have some of those. We are having a coin drive all month to raise funds to donate to World Central Kitchen, who will provide meals to families impacted by the fires in Southern California. We have energetic kiddos who are eager to get back on the playground for recesses, but we are very grateful to the maintenance and custodial crews and parent volunteers for their work getting the campus ready. Lastly, we had an assembly where kindergartners and fifth graders sang, and we learned about change makers throughout history and challenged our students to think about how they can become change makers. Wait, we also had our annual talent show. We had 49 acts and never filled in the number blank students participate this year, so I just wrote lots. This is a beloved Hellman tradition where students get to show off their unique skills and talents while the packed house cheers them on. A big thank you to our PTA who works hard to support students in all ways, including but not limited to having a shoveling party all morning Wednesday to get the blacktop cleared, and they purchased 400 pounds of de-icer so students could resume recess again. Thank you, families. Trails. Trails have been so grateful for Wednesdays lately as our amazing PTC families have been providing us lunch. It's a wonderful way to feel appreciated. We are still struggling with math intervention, multiple grade level teaching, and a solid schedule. It is affecting students, as is seen on our mid-year assessments. We are looking forward to the kickoff of our annual raffle, the biggest fundraiser our PTC holds each year. Over at Walker, students are making connections with our first grade students running the Wolf Pack Post. Students are busy writing letters to each other and dropping them in the mail. Fifth graders are also writing letters to their Bellevue pen pals and getting to know students that they may see next year at AMS. Students are looking forward to spreading the love at our Valentine's Day parties on Friday and celebrating Black History at our assembly later this month. We are so grateful for Ashland Schools Foundation funding our Walker grants, giving us some new library books, art room materials, and a shed for recess supplies. Our amazing PTO is sponsoring an Artist in Residence program, and students are getting to do art with local artists. We have started recognizing Students of the Month, rewarding first through fifth graders each month with a pizza party. As well, all students are working towards Red Carpet Day, when the school has collectively earned 1,234 blue tickets for following school rules. We will celebrate like movie stars with movies, popcorn, and a red carpet. Finally, Willow Wind. Students are fully immersed in learning about Black history this month. Students in all grades are learning about history as well as the contributions of Black people to society and are encouraged to reflect on how to create a future free of racism and discrimination. Students are researching, reading biographies, and creating art and poetry. In February, students look forward to another homegrown lunch featuring herbs grown in the Willow Wind Garden. These lunches are always healthy and delicious. To celebrate Valentine's Day, students write a sweet note to each classmate, a handmade card reflecting on specific ways that they are appreciated. And that's all today.
Thank you, Ellen.
Eva used to do this on the same radio station as me. Let's hand it to you next time.
Okay. So we are up to board reports. Does anybody want to kick us off?
Because I'm gonna use the only thing that probably we all have, which is the ethics course we all took. We're required once a year, so we knocked that out. And also, I attended the ASF board meeting as well. That's it for me.
Let's see, so my stuff is outside of the school district, but relevant to the school district. I am on the content committee for the Oregon School Student Health Survey, which is something that is required every year for our grade 6, 8, and 11th grade students to fill out. It is a really important survey. It tells the Oregon Department of Health what's happening at all throughout Oregon and all school districts. It helps our school district understand how to respond to the health, social, emotional, behavioral health issues of our students. So it's really vital information. Additionally, our local nonprofits get funding based off of, they can use the outcomes from this survey to facilitate and enhance getting their funding. So it's a really important survey. there are challenges in rural Oregon with school districts not complying by administering the survey. And there's some good reasons why there are challenges in rural districts. So I was the only person from Southern Oregon on that content committee, and just talking about some of the things that we need to do to make that survey more relevant for rural Southern Oregon families, and also a little maybe less imposing in some ways. So I'm excited to be on that content committee, and I'm looking forward to seeing the results that we get and we get to use and see here in our school district to learn more about our students. Today, I attended the Future of Southern Oregon Success, which is the group that Peter Buckley is facilitating, and they're looking to, they're a broad coalition of school districts, social service agencies, government organizations, and youth-facing nonprofits. And so they are looking to the future and changing some of the goals. And one of them was really exciting to me. It's about supporting community schools, which I think is really an important next step in our here in our school district and in Southern Oregon. So really exciting stuff that SOARS is doing. And I think that's it.
Thank you. Dan?
Sure. So I drafted a brief personal statement as a board member in response to an executive order from January 29th titled Ending Radical Indoctrination in K-12 Schooling and the related demand that education and research institutions receiving federal support remove progressive language and a number of specific keywords from publications. So if you're wondering what those words are, here we go. I believe that equity and justice are at the heart of true inclusion, yet systemic barriers continue to disadvantage marginalized communities. Throughout history, BIPOC, Indigenous, and Black students, along with women, the LGBTQ community, and those with disabilities have faced discrimination, prejudice, and racism that limit opportunity and reinforce biases. Implicit bias and stereotypes perpetuate disparities in socioeconomic status, education, and employment, particularly for underserved populations. I know that activism and advocacy are crucial in dismantling these injustices, challenging privilege and demanding equality, moving beyond performative gestures. True diversity requires creating spaces where all students, regardless of gender, ethnicity, or sexual preference or orientation, can succeed. Addressing political and institutional roadblocks means confronting systemic inequities, ensuring policies that foster multicultural representation. Further, the fight for equity is not just about eliminating overt discrimination, but also about addressing the trauma caused by generations of exclusion. For example, women, particularly female leaders from minority groups, continue to face challenges in educational spaces due to ingrained biases. Similarly, BIPOC individuals often experience disparities in education, as well as healthcare and economic mobility, due to long-standing cultural and institutional disadvantages. Finally, breaking these cycles requires collective action, amplifying community voices, dismantling harmful stereotypes, and ensuring that underrepresented groups are not just presented but empowered. By prioritizing inclusion, we move closer to a future where no one is a victim of injustice and every student, regardless of identity, has the opportunity to thrive. So that was just my statement to use all those words. I did want to say that I also did the ethics thing on public meetings, which we do every year, so it wasn't new for us. And I was sick last week. I had the flu, so I missed my monthly LGBTQ 2SIA plus advisory board meeting from OSBA. So I couldn't tell you what happened in it, but I am excited to announce that I've joined the advisory board for Future Climate Collective, which is a group, it's a statewide group, but we are developing a comprehensive climate literacy curriculum that we are piloting in Portland Public High Schools this year. And the whole aim of it is to increase climate literacy because it's based off research that shows that folks that are climate literate tend to vote 15% more for legislation that to mitigate and adapt to climate change. So I'm excited about that. I'll report more about that in the future.
Thank you, Dan. Russell, did you want to chip in from afar?
Happy to. I apologize. My voice is starting to go, so I'm just going to get through this pretty quick. The main thing that I've been doing outside of everything else that's been mentioned is continuing to stay to date on what's happening in the state legislature. And I will say that it's a bit of a daunting thing if you've never done it before, but it's worth diving into. I'd encourage you all to do it. There's a few things that help. One of which is knowing that not all of the bills that get introduced even get read. They're not. You don't have to respond to all of them. And one thing that you can do is track what's going on in the committees that are relevant to you. So the Education Committee in the House and the Senate. And on that note, there are two really important bills that are coming up this next week. And I would encourage you to check them out and submit testimony if you're interested. And those are House Bill 2953, which removes the is requesting the removal of the percentage cap on the amount of monies that are distributed from the state school fund to districts for students eligible for special education. And then the second one is House Bill 2448, and that increases the amount of money transferred each fiscal year by the Department of Education to the state school fund to the high cost disabilities account. And I'm just reading the brief summaries of the bills as they are listed on OLIS. So for anyone who's interested, I'd be happy to share direct links to these bills that I think are relevant to us, including direct links to how to submit written testimony. So that's probably the easiest way, is to just submit written testimony. And then you can do that on your time. You can also log in on specific days, Mondays and Wednesdays, and potentially submit Zoom testimony, or you could theoretically go up to the Capitol. So anyone who's interested, I'm happy to share that, though I would just ask that even if I do share those links with you, please take the time to read the bill, or at least summarize it before you make a yay or nay on it. But it's been fascinating. I'm happy to be doing it, and I hope to share more with you in the future.
So Russell, how can somebody get that information from you?
Well, I was going to start sharing it with the school board, and if anyone else is interested, if they just want to reach out to my school board address, I'm happy to share with you as well.
Can I just ask, the first one that you mentioned, 2953, I believe, so you're talking about the cap on the special education. Now, my understanding is it's not removing the cap, it's just raising the level by a few percentage points. Is that correct, or is that?
The language in this bill is actually the removal. Now, I would expect that would get adjusted as it continues to go through the process. And there very well may be other bills relevant to that as well. I will say that bill has a lot of testimony submitted already, all of it in favor so far. And then the other one, the 2448, and that's the one that was about the high cost disabilities account, that has less testimony submitted so far. But I think both are relevant to our district. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so, and then I will just very briefly say I did the ethics training as well, and this felt like a month where a lot of us, I think, were sort of just taking stock, I think, of where we're going from here, and I think I felt like there was a lot of behind-the-scenes work going on, rather than our usual sort of going to meetings. I do serve on the board of the AHA, which is the Ashland High Arts Advocates. And I just am bringing that up because I think, that's a monthly meeting that I always go to. We always talk about how we can help students and how we can provide mostly small grants to students who want to take music lessons or attend any sort of statewide or even national competitions or festivals, that kind of thing. These organizations are so important. These are obviously nonprofit groups that there's so many like it that exist, but I think, as we move forward, it's going to be so important for us to really support all of these organizations that really are so critical in keeping these opportunities alive for our kids. So I'm just going to throw out a word for AHA. They do they do a lot of really good work. And then the last thing, this is always very near and dear to my heart. We are, as you guys mentioned both, I think we are approaching OBOB season, and the high school does have an OBOB team. You may not be aware, but they have actually been very successful. Last year, we ended up the year third in the state, and so we're heading into competition season. We'll be going to regionals March 8th, and I'm going to be moderating at the Hellman and Walker school battles, which is like one of my favorite things to do. So, and I know they're still looking for moderators. If there's anybody out there who wants to help volunteer for these tournaments, they are next week at both Walker and Hellman. I'm not sure Bellevue will be having one as well. But if anybody's interested in volunteering as timekeepers, or you just want to go see what it's all about, please feel free to reach out to me. And it's really a fun thing to be a part of. So, okay, that's it for me. And the next item on our list is public comment. Do we have anything? So I have one that this was submitted as a written comment, so I'm just going to read this. It's quite brief. So this is, my name is Rhiannon Thurer. I hope I'm getting that right. And I live in Ashland. I'm a parent of a student at Walker Elementary. I'm wondering when the Ashland School District will speak publicly against President Trump's executive orders that claim to take away protections for LGBTQ+ students, to encourage so-called patriotic education, and to prevent trans girls from participating in girls' sports, as well as speaking out against ICE now being allowed on school campuses. Many school districts across the country have spoken about their commitment to protecting students on campus and affirmed the dignity of all students. This school board currently has a goal to create and maintain an environment that is welcoming, supportive, and inclusive of all students and staff. When will you speak out against the vicious attacks on our most vulnerable students, staff, and families? Okay, thank you. So that's our only public comment, and then I will move on to the student representative report.
Yeah, kind of like board members have mentioned, it's been a bit of a behind the scenes time for Azalea and I, and this is Toby who's joining us. Azalea can't make it. But Azalea wanted me to make sure to mention that she is still publishing her newsletter for the board of informing students and anyone else who reads about what's going on. So even if you don't attend the meeting or watch virtually, you can still understand what's going on. One other thing I wanted to share with the board, something we have been in contact with in leadership for well over a year. We reached out to a school in Oklahoma that was ranked #1 in terms of school spirit in the entire country. And we reached out just on a whim of like, we want to talk to you guys to get some ideas and just talk to a school that's doing things right. And I've continued to have dialogue with students who have graduated from that high school, and we continue to implement some of their ideas into our discussions in leadership, and that's what I have.
Oh, and can you give us an example of an idea?
So one thing that was interesting is they do a lot of the same activities as we do. So it wasn't more about finding a new idea, it was about their philosophy of how they go about these events. And the one thing that we learned the most is that you're not planning the event for what you think the outcome is going to be. You're planning the best event that is possible. And in a time at the school where we're in a bit of a culture crisis, we're trying to find our footing, it's important to kind of not take that into stock and just make the best events we can possibly do for everybody. So that was something really interesting that we got.
I just wanted to add that I think this week, obviously with the snow, is definitely kind of a shift for all students. I think last week there were a lot of moods going around of some people were like, oh, I get to sleep in. Some people were like, I'm going to get caught up on homework. Some people were disappointed because the mountain was closed, so they had to go all the way down to Shasta. But then coming as school resumed on Monday, I think the first day there's still snow everywhere, and it's kind of weird feeling, you know, being away for 9 days. And then I think as the week has progressed. People are starting to get more back into it. The semester is just starting and everyone's getting back in the groove. So I think that's a big positive for the students at AHS.
All right, thank you. Okay, and next up is superintendent report. I will let you take it away.
I think that's me. Well, good evening. Happy Black History Month. So first off, we are sad to see Jackie Shad leave. This is your last board meeting, isn't it?
It's the last one in public.
Regular board meeting, and then we have a work session.
Yeah.
So congratulations on your retirement. And I have an exciting announcement. I'm also happy to introduce my new executive assistant and board secretary, Holly Rosser. She's here to observe because this is her first time as a guest, and she will soon be our board secretary. So, welcome. And I'll make her publicly talk next board meeting when she introduces herself. So, as you know, board meeting nights are my favorite day of the month, not because of the board meetings. Sorry. It's because we have our Rotary Student of the Month to announce. So, I'm going to go ahead and read my... I don't know why this sounds so loud. Am I screaming?
No, they do seem loud tonight.
I'm just going to whisper.
Maybe it's
the
just
rest.
the room is kind of empty.
It sounds super loud.
Yeah.
It could be the coffee. So I'm going to go ahead and just read the presentation that I presented our Student of the Month for Rotary this afternoon. It is my absolute pleasure to present the January Ashland Rotary Student of the Month Award to a truly outstanding individual, Lexi Kemper. Lexi is a 12th grade student at Ashland High School, and she exemplifies the very essence of what it means to be a dedicated student, athlete, and leader. Whether she's on the basketball court, the softball field, or in the classroom, Lexi's positive attitude, strong work ethic, and commitment to excellence shine through. Ooh, what happened? Her teachers have all praised her for her infectious energy and enthusiasm. One of them said, "Lexi always has an awesome attitude and strong work ethic." Another teacher shared that she is an enthusiastic and hardworking team player who motivates and encourages her peers to do their best. Lexi is not only focused on her own success, but is deeply committed to helping those around her succeed as well. As an athlete, Lexi has earned the respect of her coaches and teammates alike. She's described as the ultimate teammate and someone whose mentality is whatever it takes for the team. Her dedication to giving 100% effort in everything she does, from practice to game day, makes her a standout player both on and off the field. One of her coaches said, "Kemper keeps the energy up and stays positive for us at all times." Lexi's commitment to growth and learning, coupled with her leadership and teamwork, has truly made a lasting impact on our teams and the coaches who have had the pleasure of working with her. But beyond her accomplishments, what stands out most about Lexi is her character. She approaches every challenge with a smile, she leads by example, and she treats everyone with respect and kindness. Whether on the court, in the classroom, or with her friends and family, Lexi is a person who lifts up others, and that is what makes her so deserving of this recognition today. Lexi, your hard work, dedication, and positive spirit have made a profound impact on everyone around you. You've set an example for your peers and have demonstrated the true meaning of leadership. On behalf of the Ashland Rotary Club and the Ashland High School, I'm proud to present you with the January Student of the Month Award. Congratulations, Lexi. We'd also like to thank your parents, Carl and Lori, for their continued support and encouragement. We wish you all the best in your remaining time at the Ashland High School and in your future endeavors. Congratulations, Lexi. So that was great. I'll now continue with the rest. So what was it? It was our last board meeting and announced sometime in January that we were getting ready to roll out the Superintendent Advisory Council for parents, and then we'll be rolling out our Student Advisory Council. Well, Snowmageddon slowed us down. Really happy that we had over 60 parents apply to be part of the Superintendent Advisory, so as a result, we're now going to form 2 parent Superintendent Advisories. Had every intention to email those that were selected and those that weren't selected, email everybody last week, but I'm behind. So I have every intention to email them tomorrow. So those of you that replied and are listening, watch your emails tomorrow. So we'll get caught up. Now I do want to talk about Snowmageddon. That's the term I think we're using now. But first off, when I moved here, I was told that it doesn't snow much here. So I don't know who I talk about that with, but I guess that's for another one-on-one meeting. Becca, you're the chair, so it's your fault. So first of all, I do want to thank our community for patience and understanding, and for all of our staff who helped us get through last week. A special shout out to our Director of Operations and Maintenance Director, which is Steve Mitzel and Robbie Moles, for their around-the-clock work. And I do mean around the clock. I want to talk just a moment about the process, what happens on a snow day. It's very unique here in Southern Oregon, and it's actually great. So in Jackson and, It starts very early. No, it starts very late. So the night before, when we're starting to hear the rumors that snow might be coming, and this is why it's unique in Southern Oregon, Jackson and Josephine County superintendents get on a call with the National Weather Service. So we start to talk about what things might look like. We do try to pressure them to tell us what to do, but they don't comply. So then if we can make a call that night, we do, but sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. Then at 3 a.m. we start talking. No joke, 3 a.m. Oftentimes we don't sleep though, because, you know, it's like waking up to see what gifts are under a tree, you know? So 3 a.m. is when Steve Mitzel and I probably start texting just to see what the current conditions are. And that's when superintendents across the region start texting each other. We're talking to our transportation director who's already out on the roads. We try to make a decision by 6 a.m. That is the hope to determine whether or not we're going to have a delayed start or a closure. Delayed start just means, you know what, there's not enough information or stuff could be still coming in. It really buys us a little bit of time or, you know, just not quite sure. There's far too many factors. And so what you saw from me last week was a lot of communication trying to spell out all of the factors that we're considering. So it could be forecast, it could be current conditions, it could be the challenge in Ashland is there are so many microclimates where I live versus where any of you all live are going to be completely different. And so we have to consider all of that. We also have to consider, is it safe to transport students on a bus? Is it safe for parents to transport students in a car? Is it safe for students to walk to school? Is it safe for students to drive to school? And are all of those things true for getting home? So we have to think about all of those. And as we know, every decision has, some people are going to support and not. So we have to think about everything. And when I'm making the final decision, I do not think about how people are going to feel about it because safety's first. I know in most situations, half of a community is going to like it and half is not. But that can't be the basis for my decision. My decision is based on student safety, staff safety, community safety. And I hope that's what the community saw last week. Then, once a decision is made, the work is not done. A lot of people might think, oh, it's snow day, you get to sleep. I don't know if Steve slept. I'm guessing not. I'm pretty sure Robbie didn't sleep, and I certainly did not sleep. Because once the call is made, we don't go home. So the afternoon is spent continuing to talk to news outlets, National Weather Service, superintendents, or shoveling snow. And that's what last week looked like. And yes, that also includes the superintendent. And once some of the work is done, yeah, we might take a break in the afternoon, but then come about 2 o'clock, we're preparing for the next National Weather Service call. What does tonight look like? And it just repeats. So I really am appreciative of the community hanging in there, understanding all of the factors. And then, yes, you did steal my thunder. Thank you for that. I wanted to thank Central Point and Phoenix Town School Districts because by the end of the week, the snow obviously had piled up so much that we just couldn't dig out. I don't think we would have been back in session on Monday had they not stepped up to come and help us to clear the rest of our parking lots. Additionally, I want to thank, I'm not even going to name the agencies, but on Thursday night and Friday morning, I reached out to at least 6 agencies in Ashland to enlist the support of these agencies. City of Phoenix, well, I said I wasn't going to name them, Recology, different agencies just to utilize other vehicles. But obviously, we were all overwhelmed. But just to have a community that was willing to step up if they could is truly incredible. So as we know, the storm was not nice around our community, as you saw what happened at Medford. Out of concern, we've received a few inquiries, and we've been in a unique and fortunate position because we've had a great deal of interaction with engineers across all of our buildings due to our bonds, and we have no reason for concern for our roofs. Today, we were happy to see that with the warming trend, we had water flowing from our roofs, so we're on a melting trend, thankfully. Safety of all remain of utmost importance to us, and our teams will continue to monitor and evaluate conditions, as James mentioned earlier. So really excited to see that continues to go on. But that said, when we came back to school Monday, storms do cause problems. So I want to give a little review of what happened when we came back on Monday. So following, let me see here. I'm going to sound really technical, but this is not my writing now. So pretend I'm super technical. So there was snow, then followed by 3 days of temperatures in the high teens to mid 20s, so snow, then freezing. Here's the breakdown of what we came back to. I'm first going to define freeze stat, like I know what that means. But what that means, it's in an HVAC unit, so there's a temperature sensor that prevents coils from freezing. Do I look like I know what I'm saying? Yeah. Oh, hand gestures. So there's coils that's prevented, yeah, I won't pretend. A temperature sensor that prevents coils from freezing by shutting the system down. So the HVAC system shuts down to prevent it from freezing. So it's designed to prevent damage to millions of dollars of equipment. So in this instance, it requires a manual reset to get them back online. Sounds great, but not when you've got hundreds of thousands of people showing up on Monday. So here's the rundown. At Bellevue, last week, the communication line was down on Tolman Creek Road, laying across the entrance to our campus. It disrupted our ability to access our systems remotely at Bellevue until resolved later in the week. The freeze stat, that's the thing I just described, was triggered by low temperatures, and we were able to get all but one classroom back online Monday. So we've called out an HVAC contractor to resolve this unit. AMS, freeze stat triggered by low temps, reset and resolved. So they came to really cold classrooms on Monday morning. Walker, freeze stats triggered by low temps, reset and resolved. AHS, our digital controls went down, most likely due to multiple power fluctuations causing the high school administration building to overheat and the gym to not heat at all. Why not? Temporary manual fix is in place now, and the permanent fix will be in place this coming Monday. Parts of the English building were without heat. Manual reset brought the system back online. This one's fun. At Lincoln, the sump pump failed, filling the boiler pit with water and blowing a fuse. Fuse was obsolete, so it took some time to find a replacement. We ultimately got it operational the same day it was reported. And our maintenance HVAC tech is out of town this week due to a family emergency. And Robbie, once again, our maintenance director, ran point on all of these issues while also dealing with snow and ice around the clock. So, incredible work by our team. Definitely an inconvenience to our staff, uncomfortable conditions Monday, so appreciate their flexibility. But boy, it was a community effort. So really excited that we made it through. So now the question. The question is there. What are we going to do? Should we make up these snow days and just add them to the end of the year? Sure. Let's go to July, right? No? Okay. So we've come up with what we think is a great idea. So this year, as you know, we have had the 5 snow days last week. And rather than adding those 5 days at the end of the year, the district would like to make good use of those furlough days. So previously, we had announced 6 furlough days at the end of the year. But we want to reinstitute the following dates as instructional days. So those dates are April 11th will no longer be a furlough day. April 14th will no longer be a furlough day. June 2nd and March 5th. Those are going to be reinstituted as instructional days. And I will put out a letter so you don't have to memorize them. So they're going to be replaced with new furlough dates that are now February 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of last week. February 7th, so that's Friday, will be a snow makeup day to be made up on April 21st. And the final 2 furlough days will remain March 6th and 7th, which were previously conference days. The reason we did that was to continue to maximize instructional minutes. That's why we mixed furlough days with with snow makeup days last week. Now, the question is, and I don't have an answer, but I'm going to put it out there so you don't ask me, what happens if it snows again? Well, it's not gonna. Sure. Don't laugh. It will not snow again. But if it does, we will figure that out. So that means I have no answer. You're going to ask?
Yes, because I didn't get it all.
Oh.
March 6th and 7th, those are going to go back to conference days?
Those are furlough days.
Those are going to remain furlough days?
Yes.
Okay. And April 21st was already set aside as a potential
As a
snow
snow
makeup
makeup day.
day, and that will be.
It will be an instructional day now, yes. I want to take just a quick second actually to talk about the March 6th and 7th furlough day. I think it's important to recognize that those were going to be conference days, now they're not. And I think it's important to also recognize the fact that because they are no longer conference days, we also need to recognize the demands of our teaching staff. They don't have the time to meet with all the parents. But as always, if parents have questions, they should be asking questions throughout the year. But that doesn't mean bombard teachers during this time of the year. Conferences are canceled. So we need to be mindful of this. This is not easy on our community. This is not easy on our staff. But we need to allow reprieve on those days. It's for a purpose. And so I really want to ask our families and our community to be mindful of that. Communication between staff and families is critical, but we also have to be mindful of the purpose of furlough days. That is the reduction of 2 days of work, and those happen to be conference days. So we can't expect our staff to do the same amount of work having those days reduced. So I'll be putting that in the letter as well, just to urge our families to be really respectful of our staff's time. I don't want them to be doing the same amount of work with having reduced days. So, questions on that before I move on, because I've got more to go.
I just want to reiterate, though, what you said. It's incredibly important if parents have questions or parents that they absolutely should be contacting their kids' teacher. Yep.
All right, so next, Classified Employee Appreciation Week. I would like to read into the record the following. Whereas the education of youth is essential to the future of our community, state, country, and world, and whereas classified employees are the backbone of our public education system, and whereas classified employees work directly with students, educators, parents, volunteers, business partners, and community members, and whereas classified employees support the smooth operation of offices, the safety and maintenance of buildings and property, and the safe transportation, healthy nutrition, and direct instruction of students, and whereas our community depends upon and trusts classified employees to serve students, and whereas classified employees, with their diverse talents and true dedication, nurture students throughout their school years. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Ashland School District Board of Directors proclaims March 3rd through 7th, 2025 to be Classified Employee Appreciation Week, and be it further resolved that the Ashland School District Board of Directors strongly encourages all members of our community to join in this observance, recognizing the dedication and hard work of these individuals, adopted this 13th day of February 2025. Thank you for all that you do. But I'm still not done. I know it's a long one this time. So earlier this week, Tuesday, Wednesday rather, I had the great honor of hearing an expert in educational governance and advocacy, and she was speaking about executive orders. Seems a theme tonight, and it's a topic that many people are concerned about. I want to just share some things I've reflected on in the last couple of days. I tend to get a little high-strung and excited and stressed out. I don't know if you noticed this. Executive orders don't, this is something that stuck with me. Executive orders don't carry the rule of law. However, they do signal a direction that a particular issue might be going in. Executive orders also don't mean something is going to happen. That's the piece that really stuck with me. We've been advised to stay calm as many of the executive orders have been immediately stopped by litigation. All of the state associations, including school boards, are working together with the governor's office to have a proactive statewide stance on many of these issues. We're working closely as a part of this work and are updated multiple times each week. We'll continue to stay in the space of supporting each and every student in our care. And I want to read an excerpt from a letter I sent out on January 22nd to all of our Ashland School District community. While the world around us may be unpredictable, I want to reassure you that at Ashland School District, we are steadfast in our commitment to maintaining a safe, welcoming, and consistent environment for every student. As things ebb and flow, it's our highest priority to ensure that your child's classroom and school remain a consistent place for learning and growth where all people can thrive. We'll continue to prioritize our Every Student Belongs policy, which upholds our values of inclusivity, respect, and dignity for all members of our community. Every student, Every student, regardless of background or belief, deserves to feel safe, valued, and empowered in their educational journey. We love and care about everyone in this district, and will continue to communicate and advocate for all, just as our all students belong policy promises. I will continue to communicate messages to our community, our students, and our staff. And I want to conclude by saying Happy Valentine's Day. I love it here. Any questions?
Thank you. Sorry. Okay, next up we have bond report. Steve Mitchell, and we are joined tonight by Josh Whitaker.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Did you know that mic? Did you know that mic? No. Find out. He's not the vision. I know. Yeah. It's all right. He's gonna. Oh, it's my mic that's on.
Did Joseph take off?
No, I'm here.
Oh. As I say, you sounded very technical. That was really good.
Thank you so much.
I don't know who wrote that for you, but
Either.
it was done really quick at about 6:20 before I headed down tonight. Thank you also to James Allen. I think Allen's leaving. Toby and Owen for your patience as we dug out from the mess last week. And thank you to our maintenance staff. I know that it's been mentioned multiple times, but I can't thank them enough because it is, as James pointed out, it was very discouraging to be shoveling and watching the path fill up behind you as you're shoveling and to come back the next day and do it again and do that 3 times last week, hoping that we would get some break, that we could get the kids back in school. But it wasn't to be, and I think we made the right choice for safety and the security of all our kids. So with that, I know last month we said goodbye to Mike Freeman, and he's on to some new adventures. He did stay in the industry, so I'm thankful that he did, because I think we'll have an opportunity to work with him again in the future. But I did want to introduce Josh Whitaker tonight. He's also with HMK, and rest assured, Josh has been with us since step 1 of this high school project, so he's been probably the most involved HMK employee on this project. So we're not going to skip a beat as we move forward here. We're going to go through the end of month report for January, just give you some highlights because, of course, we assume you read it all the way through, every page, right? And then we'll ask some questions, and then we're going to actually have a recommendation to award tonight for some environmental controls, which, as Josh leaned over to me a little bit ago, said would have helped with some of these situations we were dealing with on Monday. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Josh to give us a quick run through of the end of month report for January, and then we'll field questions for that.
First, I'd just like to say hi. It's been a privilege to be a part of Bond to date. I've been the project manager on a few different campuses. The last one that's active is Ashland High School, as Steve mentioned. Kind of an update there for the month of January would include demobilization of outlier construction from the campus proper. They're no longer present on campus from a standpoint of their job trailer and such, so that's all been opened up. The humanities building is now occupied on all 3 levels by the district staff and students. There was an ongoing effort on the building exterior that included the security guardrails and security paneling, some prime and paint on the exterior, and some roof sheet metal finishes. There's still an effort in the form of punch work, which is in the science building and humanities building. That's kind of resolution of any items identified by the district or design team when spaces are turned over. We're still working on air balancing in science and humanities, which will lead to system commissioning. After commissioning, that will lead into owner training. With owner training, that gives each subcontractor an opportunity to work with the district directly to show them how to use all the new systems and what maintenance requirements it'll have. Beyond that, there is fire alarm efforts still ongoing. That is scheduled to be completed in March. The last building there will be the gymnasium. At the gym, there was a long lead procurement issue with electrical gear for the chiller system. So that is scheduled to be completed by August, mid-August. That fortunately will be done by the same contractor as the seismic project. So the oversight there is transfers nicely. The seismic project is through the design phase. It's actually out for bid. We received bids for bid package 1, which is early work and long lead procurement today. So that is in the works of an updated initial GMP, which could be presented in the work session on February 27th, I believe. Not sure what else.
Yeah, and I wanted to follow up on that really quick. Normally, we wouldn't present something like that to you at a work session. We like to have those in these public sessions, but now that our work sessions are recorded and are broadcast, and due to timing on this early site package, we really need to get that across the line if we can in the February work session. So it'll be a pretty quick one. It's an early site package for the seismic work. We're just trying to get a head start on some of this work and get some of those contractors under contract so we can get started work as early as the first week of March. Really looking towards that spring break period of time where there's no students. They were really looking forward to all the furlough days that were going to be there, but Superintendent Hatchett just blew those up for us. So now we're going to have to do that over spring break, but we're going to hit that as hard as we can and get as much work done as we can when the students aren't there. And then we will do some early site work while school's in session. It won't be during the day, but we will have some areas of construction on campus starting as early as April, so we can get a head start on some of that work for the seismic so we can get it done this summer. So anyway, we'll get a lot more information to you towards the end of the month, and then there will be another package that goes, I think it's the first week of March.
Yep,
March comes in, and that'll be the rest of the project and the rest of the contractors that we get under contract. And so we'll have a lot of conversation about seismic here in the coming month. So
the motion approval for digital controls is with ECC, who's sole source on all the projects through the bond. This one is a separate contract because it was an opportunity to capitalize on some VE potential to contract directly with the district. So it's been carried under the electricians on certain projects. So you haven't seen it, but they've been the consultant of choice for all the projects. So.
I also think it's important to note that this money has been, while we're asking for a reallocation from unallocated into this particular budget, it has been, we've held this money and this budget for quite some time. So this isn't a surprise to us. We knew this was coming. We just had to get this across the line through an RFP process. So you've seen these before. You've seen this template before. There will be a request to, or we're making a recommendation to award. So you've gone through this process before where somebody would read the recommendation. But before we do that, I want to make sure you can ask questions if you like.
I just realized that I feel I should have asked this last month, but it seems like seamlessly everyone moved from Lincoln and the kids are not traveling back and forth anymore.
There's still a handful of classes over there. If Rebecca Bjornson was here, I'd ask her for some specifics on that, but I think there's still some plans as we move towards spring break to get the last of those classes over. I think there's 4 humanities classrooms over there or world language and 1, or maybe 5. I think there's 5 total over there still to get moved up to the 3rd floor. So.
Okay.
But much fewer students crossing the road, and our goal is to try to stop that altogether.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting though, because there are still a bunch of students crossing the road, so yeah, okay. That's good to know.
All of science has been moved back over, so 1st floor humanities, 2nd floor humanities, all of science are back over on campus, so.
Well, I want to thank you for, with all this bond work, continually putting safety and security of students at the forefront. I mean, we can see as of last week, things like snow can be dangerous for students. I mean, we look at North Medford, so thank you for doing that. And I appreciate the environmental controls and in the same conversation.
Yeah, I'd also extend the thanks to the community for gifting us this money under a bond to do the work. I mean, we've, as we mentioned, or I think you mentioned, we've had the privilege, in my opinion, of having seismic engineers working side by side with us for 6 years. And even, with the challenge that I stated, and I'll be really careful about how I state this, there was no budget for roofs. that was allocated specifically for roofs. And I think moving forward, any bond that passes should have an allocation for roof replacement, period. I mean, that should be where we start. And even that said, we've replaced a large number of roofs in our district, especially those that we felt were of a certain age and a certain build style that needed to be replaced. And we were in a similar situation as other districts in the region, specifically with the middle school, middle gym. James, you might have remembered, if you had more than an inch of rain in 24 hours or an inch of snow ever, we couldn't have kids in the gym. And there are a few other gyms in this region that are dealing with that. So thank you to the community for giving us this money to allow us to address these issues. And we're going to continue to do this work until all our roofs are done.
The AMS roof at one point in time we had to kind of go back and fix some errors, and I assume all is well.
All
This
is
was a
well.
good
We
test.
have, funny you said that. We did find there was a few more leaks just this last week, right on a seam that it's an area we're aware of. It's an area we've been waiting for the weather to turn so that we get some of our equipment up there to test for moisture, but clearly it's still leaking. So we addressed those issues earlier this week with the contractor, and we have some work in progress to get that remedied, but it's an ongoing thing right now. We just have to wait for the weather to clear up and dry up for us. But we're all aware, it's all documented. Josh was up there with us last week, doing the investigation, and we'll keep you posted on that.
Where is designated parking right now for the high school students? Are they still parking at Lincoln?
Not so much. That's mostly, staff parking. I don't think they've opened it up to students yet. It's Iowa Street parking lot and then street parking right now.
Okay, so they're not, because that used to be a lot of students parking over there and walking
We still have
across.
this construction lay down there for Outlier, and that'll be there probably through August.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else?
All right, so I guess we'll move on to anyone?
Yeah, I move to approve the contract award to Environmental Controls Corporation for the Direct Digital Controls Project at Ashland High School in the amount of $712,585.
I second.
And second.
Oh, thank you, Russell. Yeah. All right, all in favor? I hear an aye from Russell.
Aye, yes.
Thank you. We can't see you anymore.
Oh, okay.
So thank you as always for supporting us and having us here. Any more questions? Last thing I wanted to say is we mentioned the superintendents getting together, and since Scott Beveridge is in the room with us this evening, I would like to give him the due props. He actually brought that group together a few years ago. He reached out to the area superintendents and got the National Weather Service desk, and I think it was about 3 or 4 years ago the first time we got together. And that has been beyond valuable for us to be able to make those decisions with every school district in the region, 13 school districts in the region, coming together and talking about what's safe for students. And to Joseph's point, we do grill the National Weather Service. We really back them into a corner if we can and get them to commit to what's going to happen. And it's tough, but most of the time they give us the information we need to head us down a path. But Scott started that, so since he's here in the room, I thought I'd give him his due credit. So thanks, Scott. Other than that, we're done. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. So next we are back to Joseph, who's going to talk to us about a request to initiate a reduction in force.
So hopefully this is familiar and not new, but we've talked about this a few times leading up to this. But this is really just kind of the next step in a process of looking at our budget. And this really just continues the engagement process with both of our labor unions. So what this does is we're going to continue and enter into a consultation period with both labor unions to just continue to talk about, and these are required steps, about certification, seniority, qualifications of each employee, so that as we're planning for next year, this is not impacting this year at all, just looking at our staffing and potential rifts. So.
I have questions. This this reads like, I initially thought it was just OSEA. I see that AEA is written out. Was it, I don't know. It just seems like, so normally this would have both unions on it, I guess? That's a question mark, sorry. It's okay, let's clarify. That was a question.
I don't know what the question is.
The question, I guess I thought that there would be one for each. So initially, I thought this was just for OSEA, but it's okay. I answered my own question. It's all in one thing.
I'm happy to help.
That's fine. So then my second question was just, well, I guess I'm still going to ask my second question because it was my first question before I thought. But anyway, my point is there any detail as to like what this is going to look like at all in terms?
This is the process that will get to detail.
Okay.
Yeah, so remember, there's still a lot of engagement steps. That's my superintendent advisory. Like, we've got a lot of engagement that has to happen, and that's exactly what this is with both labor unions to engage to see what this will look like. So we don't know.
Okay. Okay.
So in the past, when we've done this, there's a perfunctory release of letters, right? That
Yep.
go to folks. So is that going to happen?
That will follow all of this.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And is there a day in which, a deadline for that?
No. I mean, it is in the contracts, but it's nowhere near.
Okay.
Yeah. So this just allows us to get started and continue the consultation. Yep.
Even though this is perfunctory, it always feels kind of bad, to be honest with you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep, there's nothing fun about this.
Yeah.
But we need to follow the steps just to engage. Yeah.
I don't know if this is an appropriate time, but I would just request, because this felt really bad when we had to do it a couple of months ago, I feel like, and to be back here feels bad again. And I guess I would just hope that this is, like what you have kept saying, we want to stop this constant cycle of having to go through this. And as a board, I think we agree. Like, we would like to stop approving these and just not be on this.
So help me understand, we haven't done this year.
We did it a year ago, last year.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess it feels like it was only
There's just
months
multiple
ago.
steps in this process, so.
Yeah. It's just that cycle that you've talked about like the hamster wheel or I'm not remembering the analogy you've used, but.
Roller coaster.
Roller coaster.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to get off it.
Agreed. That's why we have to do this.
Yeah.
Okay, we good? Yeah. Okay, so next, I have something a
Point
little
of
bit
order,
more
it would
fun.
require a motion.
Oh, to vote,
Yeah.
sorry. Okay. Who would like to make a motion? It even says action item. I'm sorry, I took my glasses off. I missed that part. Thank you.
I move to approve the board action request for the RIF.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Now I will proceed. Thank you. Sorry. Okay, so next I have something more fun. We get to approve another action item, a new member of the Budget Committee for the 2025-2026 budget year. So we have the applicant's paperwork, Kristen Milligan, and so this should just be very easy. We get to have a motion and approve a new Budget Committee member.
I move to approve Kristen Milligan for the Budget Committee.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, and thank you, Kristen, for stepping up. We love that. So, good news. All right, and now we move on to the next action item from the Southern Oregon Educational Service District Local Service Plan 2024-25, and Scott Beveridge will be presenting that.
Yeah, bring your whole team up, and if you'd like to introduce them, that'd be wonderful. And the only rule is your microphone has to be red to be heard. Thanks for coming.
Yes. Thank you so much. I'd like to introduce two members of our leadership team. So we have School Improvement Director Mark Engel Hobson and Student Services Director Kylie Harrison. So I'm going to give an introduction, and then they may have some answers to some questions that you might have if you want to go into detail. So I think I need to start this, right?
Oh, it's just presentation mode. Yeah, you just need to put it in presentation mode. There you go.
Awesome. Great. Oops.
No, you can go to the top of the whole thing instead of the, sorry. There's two things linked together, just a second. There you go.
Okay. Okay, well, great. Thanks for having me tonight. I'm going to give an introduction to the local service plan. We call it the LSP. And I'm just going to give an overview of what it is and then talk a little bit about the services that Ashland School District participates in from the LSP. So Oregon Revised Statute 334 is what requires us to do this every year. And the plan that we develop in partnership with you covers four main areas: the administrative and support services, programs for children with special needs, school improvement services, and technology support. We receive a variety of funding sources that we provide our services with, and the primary area that the local service plan is built around is the state school fund. And statute requires us to spend 90% of the state school fund on services for school districts or pass through that funding to you. We also provide a variety of services with grants and contracts that provide a lot of things that you would consider to receive for free. And we build the menu of services and consult with school districts to make the selections on the services that they'd like to receive. We did that this fall with Dr. Hattrick and the cabinet. And we go through a process every year that brings us to this point where you're reviewing the local service plan, and primarily it's page 9 of the local service plan that defines the services that you get to select off the menu, and it's the foundation of the LSP, which is really the business model. The services we will add to and remove as the needs ebb and flow for different services, but it's the business model that you're really approving in the LSP. So I thought I'd go through a little bit about what we put in the LSP as far as services, and I'm going to talk about it from last year because it was based on our strategic plan. In our strategic plan, we added significant program offerings, and we also built a lot of transparency around financial access to 3 years of historical data and cost estimates. We think that transparency was very helpful so that districts can budget and look at not only the historical data, but the estimates that we provide throughout the year. The results that we got from our survey of school districts at the end of June last year was 93% or better across our areas, so we always appreciate your feedback. And the services that we provided in last year's plan was expanded student behavioral health and wellness, expanded crisis management, flight response team that you can talk about in a bit, expanded career technical education, and expanded life skills for students. We also built a new teacher training model and expanded our mentoring with a tiered support model and an apprenticeship pilot for increasing special education teachers. Already talked about the expanded data systems. And this year, we expanded a few more things building on that strong foundation. So you're working on emergency preparedness, support for school districts, and we think this funding will come for free from a DHS grant, I believe you're working on. So that would come at no cost to school districts. And we have already funded, in partnership with our CCOs, substance use and addiction recovery services, and we're hoping that a grant with ODE will turn that into regional recovery high school of choice. And we're super excited about a regional career center that we believe we'll be able to launch at the beginning of the school year. I think we have a building that we found that we're in the process of purchasing right now, and that will focus on healthcare pathways initially. And then I think we're going to move into trades in subsequent years. So I can turn it over to you and you to talk a little bit about the services that we provide. This is a slide of the services that we believe Ashland School District uses from our local service plan in the purchase service area. And this slide is the services that we provide through grants and contracts. You might have lots of questions about these, and so we have experts here that can provide information.
Madam Chair, members of the board, good evening. Thank you for having us here today. I'm Mark Engel-Hobson, Director of School Improvement Services, and you can see from the slide in front of you the kinds of services that are provided through my division to the Ashland School District, including support for career technical education, our Career Connected Learning Program, support for English language learners, Indian education, Division 22 library services, migrant ed, and the STEAM Hub. All of those are choices from the LSP. And if you'll advance one slide, Scott, then professional learning and technical assistance are also provided to your district at no cost to you through our Student Success Act funding and the Southern Oregon Regional Educator Network. And as you look at the bullet points on either of those slides, I would be happy to answer any questions about any of those topics if you have questions.
Good evening. I'm Kylie Harrison. I'm the Director of Student Services. I'll try not to sit on top of Mark as I reach for the microphone. So I have the pleasure of being able to work at the ESD supporting a variety of services directed directly at students in our region, including special education services, behavioral health services, newly over this past year, the work around substance use disorder and recovery services, and interestingly, as a little bit of a bird walk from what I do, emergency services. And so working with our component school districts to kind of vision how can we come together and make sure that we are on the same page and have the same language and knowledge base to support one another in times of crisis, and what are we doing in times of non-crisis to make sure that that partnership continues. So on the first slide here, we're looking at services that Ashland participates in through the Student Services Department that are on the local service plan through what we call the Choice and Equity. And so these are purchase services. And the neat thing about student services is the braiding of availability of funding and resources. So when you see a lot of the different special education components on this slide, you'll also see them on the next slide for free. And the way we do that is we look at the skill set and the licensure of our staff and look at what grant funding we have available, and then what additional services districts truly need to support the needs of their students, and how we can marry those together to provide the maximum services to a district with the minimum amount of additional cost while maintaining the high quality. And so I just want to make a little bit of a shout out to Dr. April Harrison, who has been an incredible partner with me in this work, making sure that the students in your district are truly served to the greatest extent possible with what we have available.
Is this question time? First of all, I just want to say I really appreciate the work that the ESD does. It's incredibly vital given the change in finances for everybody, the challenges we all have in regards to student enrollment, and so I'm very appreciative of these services. I had a number of questions. One is, what is a flight team?
Thank you. I forgot to say something about that. So the concept of a flight team is when there has been an unexpected loss in a community. The community may have a really wonderful plan in place for how to support grief, but the practitioners in that community are also impacted by that grief, whether directly or secondarily. Their peers are struggling, and so the emotions tend to be high, understandably. And so a flight team is a group of individuals who are all trained in the emotional support after a crisis and the procedural support after a crisis that results in the death of a community member. And so they're able to come in, provide support to administrators in terms of messaging and procedures and how to balance that moment of wanting business as usual for people who really need that,
and also holding space for individuals who need to stop for a moment and process what's happened and find the support that they need to be able to deal with the loss and then move forward effectively rather than carrying it with them. And then there's also support through the flight team for students and staff on a campus. So whether it's grief support rooms where students can come together with a trained adult to be able to process and spend time in community together, access to referrals to independent counseling when needed, and then just kind of that thought partner with the school community on how to support everyone in that time of grief. And so it's not a long-term support, it is intended to be very brief, and it's sort of a triage. And then we look at what resources are necessary moving forward to help that community move on. We provide multiple trainings a year in that crisis response model so that we have trained staff in every district. At this point, I believe we have staff who have been trained in 12 out of our 13 component districts in the same process of flight team response, so that if there is a large scale response in one of our districts, we can support with staff from the ESD as well as staff that are volunteering from other districts, and again have that common language so that we can all be there together and access statewide supports if necessary. So, and that was a direct result of requests from the Superintendent's Council the year before last, and I believe it was the Ashland superintendent who initially voiced it. So I'm really, really grateful to be able to do that work in our region.
I believe you also include community partners along with other school districts.
Yes.
See if I can frame my question, but one of the things that we noticed in kind of our budget review is that our sub costs have increased quite dramatically due to unfunded mandates. So one, I'm partially grateful that you've been able to provide, what much needed support in that way. But the other kind of burning question in my mind is is SOESD kind of helping the state to recognize, the tremendous kind of cost that's equated to for our districts, and it would be great to partner with you all as far as finding solutions. I'm just curious if you're kind of advocating at the state level in that way at all.
Yeah. So just to make sure I'm hearing you correctly, you're talking about the unfunded mandates that can result in increased costs with absence from staff. Yeah, so that's a conversation that we're having statewide. We have some professional organizations that we partner with that help carry that message. Dr. Hattrick is part of that organization, and we're having a conversation with the governor and the state around accountability. And part of that accountability, we want to talk about how the struggles with unfunded mandates come hand in hand with the accountability that the state is asking us for. And I can talk about that a little bit more if that's confusing. It makes sense? Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. We're partnering in that.
Excuse me, I want to ask a little bit more about recovery services and what does that look like?
This is fairly new work in the school system and was sparked by conversations in sort of the intersectionality of my work between clinical mental health and then school mental health and how that interplays. And one of the things that comes up regularly in those arenas is that substance use is absolutely a part of the mix when you're looking at behavioral health services that has historically not necessarily been robustly addressed in school systems in terms of recovery, cessation, all of those pieces. It's a medical thing, and that's the field that it has really lived in. Oregon, a little over a year ago, approved the possibility of opening up to 9 recovery schools in the state of Oregon, which are intended to be safe and sober learning environments for individuals who are high school age and have made a commitment to recover from substance use disorder. One of the things that I loved about the process of that model being built was that ODE was really mindful of not putting medical eligibility into the mix in terms of who was eligible for coming to a recovery school. It's a commitment to remaining safe and sober and then accessing services as you need to on the outside. For that, the recovery school model is a small environment where students can access credits towards graduation, achieve a full high school diploma, also receive recovery support services and mental health services on campus, access the potential for career coaching along the way, exploration for post-secondary opportunities, and get it all as a one-stop shop. So we were really fortunate this year to gain grant funding through our local coordinated care organizations, both Jackson Care Connect and All Care, pledged money up front for us to be able to hire a project manager for building the concept of a recovery school here in Southern Oregon that could serve our region. So we currently have a project manager who has been working with the steering committee on the vision and mission of what our proposed recovery school is, the scope of services that we're able to provide on campus, working with community partners to pledge resources and supports, including staff and personnel and training for individuals working in the recovery school. And we like to say when we get the grant and get opened, but we are in the process of applying. ODE is opening the window to apply at the end of this month, and then we'll have a month to submit our application. We should find out shortly whether or not we're approved. So if we are approved through that ODE grant to open a recovery school here in Southern Oregon, that'll be our primary focus for the next couple of years, making sure we make a sustainable model that is up and running and gains the momentum it needs in our communities. But as a secondary piece of that work, we really do want to be able to look at how we can utilize those resources to provide services on component district campuses as well as necessary. Because the recovery school by necessity is a very small space, and we know that the need is much larger than that. So the hope is that if we can create that program, we'll have access to highly skilled and qualified and passionate and student-minded individuals who we can then support districts with as well as part of our model rather than as an additional cost. I'm very excited about the project and I'm very hopeful.
I'd love to hear a little bit more about the CTE program. So it's currently just healthcare, and you have other things in the pipeline, or where does that stand?
Yes, we are in the planning stages now to open a Southern Oregon Regional Career Center in the fall. Brad Kapner is the person that we've hired to coordinate that work. He's been working with district superintendents and curriculum directors, with the workforce board, with RCC and SOU. And the recommendation for year one is to open with no more than 3 pathways. And based on the workforce data and the partnerships that are available to us through Asante and Providence and other healthcare providers in the region, our plan is to open in the fall with 3 healthcare pathways. We hope to add 2 additional pathways in year 2 of the project and 1 additional pathway in year 3. But the pathways over time, we intend to grow to also include the trades. And this will be an opportunity that's available to all students in the Southern Oregon region. It will be a tuition-based model where if districts choose to send students to the Career Center for part of the day, they would pay, the district would pay tuition for the student to participate.
And would that be one site, or would there be sort of satellites where students from different areas could access?
Much like the recovery school model, we're starting with 1 physical location. As Superintendent Beveridge mentioned, we are in the process right now of negotiating with a physical site that we have found. And we're in the process with that now. And then our hope is to be able to expand out to satellite sites in the future. But for now, it would be 1 physical location that we believe is within driving distance of most of our school districts.
Okay, thank you. All right, is that it? Dan, Russell, no questions? Wow. All right, Thank you. Okay, so there's a paper ballot that we need to send in, but we do an actual physical vote this evening, right? Yeah. Okay, so, yeah, as long as we've done the vote, then you can send in the ballot. Okay. So I guess I will take a motion to, is it?
Yeah, I will go ahead and move to approve the SOESD local service plan as presented.
I'll second.
All in favor? I heard a grunt from Russell, I think.
That was aye, yes.
Okay, thanks. Okay. Excellent. Okay, so that moves.
Add one quick thing.
Sure.
I didn't catch you before the meeting started, but
Oh.
a representative from the League of Women Voters came in with some flyers about a joint presentation being done about school boards. What do school boards do? How do you run for a school board? It's OSBA and League of Women Voters working together, and this is just announcing
Perfect.
that session in March. If anybody's interested, we'll put some information up.
Yes, okay, we had seen something about this. Okay, so I'll read this at the end. Okay. So we now are up to our additional item that we added on, which is the response to the complaint. So the school board met in executive session earlier this evening regarding a complaint against an employee, so that confidential information, but we will be having a public vote regarding that complaint. So if somebody can give me a motion regarding the action.
The board received, so I make a motion that the board deny the complaint and delegate authority to the chair to respond to the complaint.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Russell. Okay. So Jackie, I will forward you something about that. Okay. Okay, that's it. And so what Jackie just handed me just is there is a meeting Sunday, March 9th, 3 to 5 p.m. at the Medford Public Library called Running for School Board. So if anybody wants more information about that, they can contact us. And I believe a couple of us hopefully will be attending, correct? Yeah, okay. Yeah. And I believe that brings me to announcements, right? Am I missing anything? No? Look at this.
Mission before 9.
Great. Okay, so the board will convene a work session on Thursday, February 27th, 2025 at 7 p.m. in the district office conference room. The board will hold its next regular session on Thursday, March 13th, 2025 at 7 p.m. here in City Council chambers. And with that, this meeting is adjourned. Look at that, 9 o'clock.